This is the original pin punisher. I've been bowling all my life. Professional bowling is my passion, and now I'm here to share it with you.
We've got a special topic today. So we are going to break into layouts for bowling balls and what they mean and how you can manipulate them to get certain reactions out of bowling balls. I mainly am going to show you guys two separate bowling balls that I have, two of each. So I have two Resurgence and two Phase 2s. I have two polar opposite layouts from pin distances to vertical axis angle lines, which I'll get a little bit into later, but you're going to see a cool difference between two of the same bowling balls but reacting completely different from just the layout on the ball. Why not drill every ball the same? Well, because you want your bowling balls to have a different kind of reaction to them. Now, when it comes to house shots, you don't necessarily have to get too intense, but when you want to bowl in sport patterns and you want to bowl in sport patterns competitively, being able to manipulate your pin to pap distance and your drillings on your bowling balls will make or break you. So some examples would be like a 2-inch pin. What does that do opposed to a 4-inch pin? Well, on my Resurgence, I have a 4-inch pin with a 35 valve angle. Now, a 35 valve angle, the lower your valve angle number is, the faster the ball is going to rev up, meaning it's going to get into the hook phase much faster, have a very short skid phase. So now the 4-inch part is on the flare spectrum. So 3 3/8 is maximum flare. Anything past that, the flare starts to shrink in both directions. So I would say a 4-inch pin's a lot closer than a 2.5-inch pin to the flare, to the maximum flare. So you'll have a pretty medium high flare potential on your 4-inch pin, but on the 2-inch pin Resurgence, you're going to have a medium low flare potential, and you'll see that the shorter pin balls allow you to play straighter with better pin carry. But the second you move left, which I'm going to show you guys shots from up the lane and going around the lane with the different pin distances and valve angles, and you'll see what's better at what. So my Phase 2s, I have two Phase 2s, one with a 4.5-inch pin with that 35 valve angle, and then another one I have at a 65 valve angle, which gets the ball into the hook phase much later, and it stays in the skid phase a little bit longer with the cord. So I have a 2.5-inch pin Resurgence with 65 valve angle, and I have a 3 3/4-inch pin with a 35 valve angle Phase 2. Let's get into seeing some of the differences. Layouts control the bowling ball's potential to get in the hook phase and how quickly it's going to get into the hook phase and how quickly it's going to get out of the skid phase or into the roll phase. Your pin distance and your vertical axis line on symmetrical balls are two of your most important numbers. That controls the amount of flare and when the ball is going to get into the hook phase. Just saw the 2-inch pin by the 65 valve angle Resurgence. Next, I'm going to show you the 4-inch pin by 35 valve angle Resurgence. Something that you should keep in mind is the 2-inch pin, yes, it's a smooth ball. We're on a really dry house shot, and it allows me to play a little bit straighter in between the second and the third arrow. You'll notice on the 4-inch pin, it's going to read in the mid lane much stronger, but produce more ball reaction, meaning it's going to hook in the same amount of oil, but it's going to produce more overall hook and more boards covered, whereas the 2-inch pin allows you to stay a little bit further right, but you still have that strong cover of the bowling ball that allows you to hook it in that big cliff of oil that's on a house shot. So let's see how that 4-inch pin works. So as you can see, the longer pin with more flare, just insanely much more boards covered. It was hooking the better part of the whole lane, whereas the short pin ball specialized in allowing me to play a lot straighter, and you can see the angle of attack gave me the ability to play much further right, whereas with the longer pin that had more flare, I had to move super far left. I had to move, I think, about 10 left, and I really had to open my angles up and really curve it around the lane. Still a smooth ball because it has, you know, only a 4-inch pin. You can imagine what a longer pin might end up doing for you on the down lane reaction. So now we're going to get into the phase 2s. I'm going to throw the 3 3/4 phase 2 by 65, and you'll notice that'll be a little smoother and rounder, but way stronger than a 2.5-inch pin. But you'll notice that it's not going to curve nearly as much down lane as the 4.5 phase 2 that I'm going to show afterward. Let's get into it. So the 3 3/4 pin to pap phase 2 was extremely slow around the corner. It was smooth, it didn't hook or it didn't jackknife off the friction. You can see that, you know, the ball encounters the friction early and then just rolls off of it, where that is great for when you want to stay close to the friction and you don't have to worry about covering a lot of boards. But when they break down and you need to move left, sometimes that kind of layout may not allow you to play in the part of the lane that you really need to be in, because it will struggle to hook in the down lane. So now you guys are going to see a 4.5-inch pin, which is going to definitely cut the flare down a little bit, but it's still going to flare quite a bit. But this is like a high flaring layout that allows it to change direction really hard in the mid lane. So you're going to see a radical difference on how much more this next one hooks. So you've seen the major differences in what these layouts can do for your ball reaction with very little variance to how you throw the ball. You can get an extremely different ball reaction out of them. So you're probably thinking like, okay, well, one's pretty good, the other one's kind of good too, but like, what do I choose? Well, don't be fooled. You have to know what you're bowling on. On house shots, on very clipped patterns, you want a certain kind of layout. On longer patterns, you want a certain kind of layout. On short patterns, you want a certain kind of layout. So it really depends. You got to figure out what works for you, and you got to know what you're looking for. Like on a short pattern, it depends what ball you have, but you want your ball to be drilled to read early and be smooth down lane. You don't need your ball to hook a ton. Now on a long pattern, you want your ball to be able to read in the mid lane but not burn up and have enough energy to go through the pin still. So definitely keep in mind on what you're bowling on. And if you guys have any other likes or comments or, you know, some videos you want me to do, just let me know and I'll think about it. But thanks for watching. See you guys next time.